You're listening to the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast, the leading resource for real estate investors who want to dominate their market online. Dan Barrett is the founder of AdWords Nerds, a high-tech digital agency focusing exclusively on helping real estate investors like you get more leads and deals online, outsmart your competition, and live a freer, more awesome life. And now, your host, Dan Barrett.
All right, hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the REI Marketing Nerds Podcast. As always, this is Daniel Barrett here from AdWordsNerds.com. And if you are looking to get more leads and deals online for your real estate investing business, you know where to go. It is AdWordsNerds.com. Over a decade strong in this game, folks. Over a decade. Seems weird to say. Seems like a very long time to me personally, but I am happy to be here as always. This week, I don't have a guest. I want to just talk with you, and I want to talk to you about something that's very important to me, something I've actually talked about in a previous episode, but we're going to attack it from a different angle, and that is systems reliability. Now, if you know me, if you've heard me talk for about anything for pretty much any amount of time, you have heard me talk about systems dynamics, systems thinking, complex systems theory, etc. This is like my bread and butter. This is largely the theoretical underpinning that makes AdWords Nerds different. It's the sort of logical structure we bring to online marketing, to understanding what's happening in the real estate investing industry, to running our own business, honestly, to running my personal life. It's really the sort of framework that's there that helps us make decisions and honestly make good enough decisions to keep us ahead of our competitors by a fairly wide margin. So this is important to me. Right? It's not just something I talk about on podcasts. It's something I live and breathe and think about all the time. And the reason that systems reliability is so particularly critical as a part of this kind of framework, and don't worry, we are going to bring this right down to the ground and talk about your real estate investing business. So we're not going to stay theoretical, but let's get theoretical for a moment. The reason this is so important is because so much of our lives and our success in business relies not on the level of peak performance that we can reach, but rather the reliability with which we reach that performance. Okay, so let's think about that for a second. If you are running an investing business, you're doing deals, you're flipping, you're wholetailing, whatever you're doing, right? Buy and hold, right? There are going to be months during the year where your income is significantly greater. The revenue produced by the business is significantly greater than the other months. That's your peak performance. That's your peak performance. But if you cannot reliably hit that number, it would be foolish to run your business as if that peak number was what you hit every single month. Like, let's say your business on average produces $20,000 in monthly revenue. All right, let's just say that that's what's going on. Okay, you got a $20,000 a month business. And let's say 5 of that you spend in expenses. All right, pretty healthy business. Right? You got 75% profit margin or whatever it is. That's awesome. All right. So you're making 20K and you're spending 5. Now you are very healthy at that point. But let's say 1 month out of the year, for whatever reason, you hit 40K. Just 1 month out of the year. All right. Now, if in that month you hit this 40K, you start to identify with this idea of your business being a 40K a month business, of yourself being a 40K a month business owner, you will start to act in line with that identity that you've created for yourself. And that might mean raising your expenses, investing back into the team, investing in more marketing, investing in a nicer office, buying new clothes, a pair of fancy sunglasses, whatever it is, getting a tattoo across your stomach that says 40K Club, right? I'm sure that's happened before. So you are now investing in line with this identity you have created as a person who owns a business that makes 40K a month. But remember what we said in the beginning, this is a 1 month peak. Now, in the next month after this, when your revenue goes back down to 20K, your expenses are now double. Remember, you raised your expenses, you invested back into the business when you made 40K. So before you were making 20 and spending 5, you had a 75% profit margin. You hit 40K, you raised your expenses to 10, still doing great. But then in the next month, your revenue goes back down to 20, but now your expenses are 10. You are now at a 50% profit margin. What has happened here is that you now have to work harder and spend more to stay in the same place. You are taking home less money overall, but now you've got the extra staff to worry about. Now you've got the cognitive burden of thinking about these new marketing campaigns. Now you got to clean the new office. Now your wife is upset, about the 40K club stomach tattoo, right? Your partner. This is what happens to us in general. We get attached to a particular set of circumstances and start to act accordingly. And what that ends up doing is meaning that we have to run faster and faster and faster just to stay in place.
Want to find motivated seller leads online, but don't know where to start? Download our free Motivated Seller Keyword Report today. AdWords nerds have spent over $5 million this year researching the most profitable keywords for finding motivated seller leads. And you can grab these exact keywords when you download our report at www.adwordsnerds.com/keywords.
Now, the reason I started this whole conversation, talking about systems reliability, is that when we are doing well, we need to think about ways we can simplify the way our businesses run. And the reason is because when we're doing well, you and I understand that, hey, while we may be doing well, that doesn't mean we will always do exactly this well. And in fact, we may be at a peak performance period, and we may soon regress to the mean, statistically start to average our way back towards our average performance. This is only natural. It happens to everyone in every single setting, whether it's sports or romance or business, right? It doesn't matter. Stock market, whatever. You have an outsized good day, you're statistically fairly likely to regress to the mean and be a little bit lower the next time you check. You have an outsized bad day, same goes, but heading back up towards the average, not quite as bad as last day was. All right, I had a really bad week this week. Just personally, I had a ton of trouble focusing. I had a bunch of interpersonal problems. I got angry. It's like I yelled at my kid for no reason. It was just kind of a bad off week, right? Maybe I ate too little or too much, or maybe I didn't sleep well, or whatever it was. It wasn't a great week. Now, because this week was abnormally bad, I can expect statistically, right? I'm probably more likely to have a more average week next week. It's just the way that it goes. All right. So the reason that when we hit these sort of peak performance months, we need to start thinking about simplifying rather than making things more complicated is because the more pieces that we add to the business, the more things need to go right in order for us to be successful. All right. If I'm adding the new staff and I'm adding the new office, I'm adding the new marketing campaign, what ends up happening is all those staff members need to really kick butt in order to give me a return on my investment. That marketing campaign needs to have the right ads and the right targeting and the right budget in order to kick enough butt to give me a positive return on my investment. That office needs to make me that much more productive in order to give me a positive return on my investment. My stomach tattoo needs to attract enough cool people to make me the life of the party and give me a return on my investment. There's a lot of things that need to go right in order for me to come out on top. And this is what we all do. Every business owner does this in one way or another. When we have a peak month, we tend to reinvest. We tend to double down rather than taking some of that profit off the table and actually reaping the rewards of all our hard work. So again, let's return to systems reliability. How can we make the systems in our life, which is our business, right, or our health or our personal relationships or whatever you want to look at, everything's a system in some way. How do we make the systems in our life more reliable so that we lock in those peak performance months rather than squandering them? And the way that you increase the reliability of a system is actually so simple that people rarely do it. We tend to overlook it. Entrepreneurs, we love to make a problem more complicated than it needs to be. We love it. If it's not hard, it doesn't count, right? You got to hustle, you got to grind, you got to struggle. If it's no struggle, then it doesn't feel real. So we want everything to be hard. So we overlook the simple thing. The simple way to make a system more reliable is to simply eliminate some of the things that need to go right in order for you to be successful. If fewer things need to go your way in order for you to come out on top, you are more likely to come out on top. This is the way the world works. The more open we are to being affected by random chance, by statistical fluctuation, just the less likely we are to make it. It's the way it is. So if you are doing well, if you are profiting, if you're like, hey, I want to lock in peak performance, the way you do that is by elimination. Not by addition, but by subtraction. How do I make my business simpler? How do I make it so I'm not as reliant on a single person? So how can I build in some redundancy? How can I make it so that I'm spending less so that even if my income goes down, my profit margin is still substantial? How can I make it so that fewer things need to go right in order for me to win? That's the secret. And I'll tell you, it's a secret that I personally struggle to implement sometimes. I've created a system for doing this, but it's a struggle for me to implement it because all entrepreneurs love to build. We love to add. We love to make beautiful things, complex things. We have new ideas. Going back to the same old, the tried and true, and just boiling it down, it doesn't feel as romantic. It doesn't feel as exciting to us. But in the end, if you're constantly building and constantly reinvesting and constantly making things more complicated, you're going to find yourself working harder and harder and being more and more stressed while getting further away from what you care about or getting further away from your goals. And I don't know about you, that's probably not why you started your business. It isn't why I started mine. So think about this, folks. Systems reliability. When you have a peak performance month, when you're doing really well, when times are good, those are the times to make things simpler. Those are the times to make things more reliable. And those are the times to lock in your wins. I hope this was useful. I hope you like this episode. As always, you can find all our past episodes and tons of free content over at AdWordsNerds.com. Once again, that's AdWordsNerds.com. And hey, I also have a YouTube channel. You can Google AdWords Nerds there. And please do leave us a like or a subscription or a review. Any of that is so helpful. I read every single one, and it helps other people find the podcast. As always, this is Daniel Barrett from AdWordsNerds.com signing off. I hope you have an awesome week, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.
This is thepodcastfactory.com.